Hey everyone, Ryan here with the Rays latest. And today we're going to be talking about some Tropicana Field updates as well as Bobby Seymour finally signing in Japan, as well as some possible trades and signings that we could see from the Rays, particularly with the Guardians this year. So we're going to start out this talking about the new Tropicana Field updates. We're still on track to start April 6th of next year, 2026, being in Tropicana Field. The St. Pete mayor said earlier this week that he would not be opposed to getting an agreement with the Rays and with Tropicana Field on extending the lease. So there's many different ways you kind of go about what has been said about this. A lot of it could just be the mayor kind of just putting it out there like, hey, we would be interested in keeping the Rays in Tropicana Field past the 2028 deadline that's currently set in place. From a mayor and from a city perspective, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. You wouldn't not want a professional sports team in your area. You wouldn't want them just to get up and leave. So I can see from kind of the mayor's perspective on why he would kind of go out and say this and why he would want the Rays to stay. And at the end of the day, I think the new owners really do want a new stadium, and as well as I would say 99.99% of the fan base would love a new stadium. Like, but don't get me wrong, I love Tropicana Field. I love going to games in the Trop. It feels great inside. It's just something about kind of just the atmosphere that I get from when I'm in there. It doesn't really feel like I'm at a Major League Baseball game. And that could be many reasons with just low amount of fans, kind of low amount of buy-in, I would say, by outside fans and things of that nature. And look, I get it. The trek from Tampa over the bridge to get to St. Pete, it sucks, especially in a midweek day at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not fun. I completely understand. But that being said, the attendance this year at Steinbrenner was not much better. So I don't know, and granted that is a minor league stadium, but if you're not selling out a minor league stadium every single day, that's a problem. Especially when you're in Tampa, you're 15 minutes northwest of downtown. It's right by the airport. It's not like it's an issue for people to get out there. Granted, the traffic to get there, especially for Bucks games, is not fun either. But I think moving it to a more centralized location around downtown would be what the fans want and would be what the Rays new owners want. So we'll see how that comes. I truly don't think that a new lease will be signed with Tropicana Field past 2028. I really don't. Maybe since we haven't fully started a new stadium location, that could be like a 1 year lease or a 2 year lease or something of that nature, which I don't really know if you can do that. I don't see why you couldn't, but financially, logistically wise, I feel like a 1 year lease on a stadium that big is kind of not something that you want. But we'll see kind of where it goes with that. But I truly do think that the Rays will be playing in a new stadium coming up here soon. Transition over to Bobby Seymour being released by the Rays, got DFA'd, demanded a release of his contract to go play overseas in Asia and ultimately landing with Japan's Oryx Buffaloes. It's one of I'm happy for the guy. I mean, I don't know the exact reasoning behind it. I haven't seen any statements from him or his party or anything like that revolving why he ended up doing it. But I do think that at the end of the day, it's going to be a good place for him. He's going to be kind of one of the big names over there as a Major League Baseball player transitioning over. I think at the end of the day for him, it's not a bad look. I like it for him, and I think he's going to do great over there. So we'll see how he ends up turning out, and I wonder if he ends up coming back to play Major League Baseball anytime after that, or if he decides to play the rest of his career over there. We'll see how he goes, but I do truly kind of like it. I do think that it's going to be a good fit for him over there. And now transition over to some possible trade scenarios that I've been kind of seeing online, particularly to do with the Cleveland Guardians. So I'll just jump straight into it. The first trade would be the Guardians are trading away Ralphie Velasquez to the Rays for Yandy Diaz straight up, which is it's interesting to me because it'd be kind of more of just a salary dump trade in that scenario is what I'm kind of getting from that. I mean, Velasquez has not been a bad player in the Guardians organization at all, but I feel like for a player of Yandy's caliber, that's just kind of something you need a little bit more out of. And I completely understand a trade with Yandy or a trade with Lau would be kind of more of a salary dump for prospects kind of situation. And I get that, and I think Rays fans get that, and that's kind of just been the overarching kind of thing that we've seen the Rays do with their big name players and big contract guys. So I particularly don't like that trade at all. That's just kind of one that I've been seeing, and so I kind of just wanted to address that. The second one is the Guardians are trading Angel Janau, probably butchering that, to the Rays for Brandon Lau. So this would kind of be another one of those kind of salary dump situations here. But I genuinely do not think that a 1-for-1 for any of those guys is really going to get it done unless it's another pretty established big leaguer. And I would much rather get kind of a pretty decent prospect haul for these guys rather than a 1-for-1 of maybe a guy who's kind of up and down on the big league roster or kind of just fresh coming into it. It's just stuff that I don't really like those trades, and those are kind of just what I'm seeing that's been put out there, and I'm really interested to see kind of where their mind and headspace is at on that because I just don't see it, and I just don't see it as a good investment for the Rays, especially for those two players. But the third trade is the Guardians are trading Jonathan Rodriguez, Jake Miller to the Rays for Christopher Morel. Now, this is one that I'm a little more intrigued because I've voiced my opinions on Christopher Morel for quite some time now, and I think that necessarily the haul back isn't the worst thing. Jake Miller, Jonathan Rodriguez, not two bad players by any means. Compared to what kind of Christopher Morel has done recently, he is young. He's only 26. So there's still some time for him to possibly kind of transition from where he's at, kind of moving forward. But I just am not seeing it from him, and I haven't really seen it from him ever, even when he was in Chicago. So just personally, I wouldn't mind the trade, but I could see reasons of why you kind of wouldn't want to get rid of Morel because he's on a club-friendly contract. He's only owed like 2.4 this year, which is in Major League Baseball is nothing comparatively speaking to everybody else. He's just not with the loaded outfield room that we have now, though. It's kind of one of those things that he's not an everyday player. Why should we pay him 3 times more than the guys who are actually playing, kind of thing? So I wouldn't mind that trade, kind of just getting him out of here for at least something. So you guys let me know what you guys think about those 3 trade scenarios. Let me know your thoughts, anything like that. But a couple other things that I'm kind of seeing is I've kind of touched on this last week is kind of getting some more back-end bullpen help. Some names, kind of familiar names that I've been seeing a lot recently is Eflin, Littell, and Hauser kind of being at a kind of the front and center part of being re-signed by the Rays. And I think out of the 3, I hated the fact that we got rid of Zach Littell. He was phenomenal for us, and I didn't really understand the reason why we got rid of him. I understand kind of not being able to pay him because he is worth a little over $10 million, I would say, in free agency market for annual value. But if you could get him for around that $10 million mark, especially getting rid of Fairbanks, that's the contract that you could kind of like to get out of somebody like that. I wouldn't mind getting Hauser back either. I think he was a really good pitcher, and the fact that we DFA'd him was kind of interesting, and he was elected to go into free agency and not be re-signed by us. So it's interesting. Some other kind of names I've seen is Michael Lorenzen, Jose Quintana, Chris Paddock, Patrick Corbin, Tyler Anderson, Miles Mikolas, and some other guys kind of Hail Mary, shot in the dark, darts at the wall kind of thing is Walker Buehler or Dustin May. But particularly what I like out of that list is Chris Paddock. He's fairly young. He's 29, and he kind of just has that elite command with an above average changeup that you like to see out of a back end guy. Kind of just get the weak contact, keep your pitch count down, eat innings, save bullpen. That's what you would really want to see out of a guy like that. And I think you could get him on a pretty favorable deal, I think. So that would be a guy that I would particularly like to go after is Paddock. Preferably, I would love Littell and then Hauser. But if those kind of contracts are a little too high for Neander and company's kind of pockets there, I think Paddock would be a pretty good addition to the back end of the rotation as well. But you guys let me know what you guys think. I do truly believe that we will see in the pretty upcoming future a back end guy kind of get signed here. And I'm really curious to see who it would be. You guys let me know who you think it would be, and you guys have a great one.